Hello, everyone. Today I'm going to be doing a special stream. Basically, I'm going to be doing an interview process. There's going to be 1 out of 3 interviews. The first one is going to be, I actually was going to have Dylan Scatina here as an interviewee, but he couldn't make it for personal reasons. It sucked. But we'll go out to him. Hopefully, we can get him later on in the stream in a couple weeks. But technically, since I did basically make a film, my sis Akadi over here is going to interview me. Right. Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, so basically, about a couple of years ago, I was privileged to make a feature film with a group of friends. We got a production company U42 to help produce the film. The movie was called Dead by Midnight. And this was a first one, so we decided to, each of us had like our own little story. This is an anthology, so each of us had our own little stories. And I got with Sean, Dancing Sean, and we made a script together. It was called Creepy Dolls. I knew someone who had a lot of dolls, like hundreds of dolls, and I was inspired by that and decided to make my short segment about these dolls. I got a couple of very, very talented actors. Actually, Dylan did the voice actor of one of the dolls, and I had a couple of others like Andrew Puckett and Emma Green, Bajor Ashwood. A lot of really, really talented independent actors, and had help with a director that you'll see later on in the segment with director's edition. It's going to be tomorrow at 8 p.m. But he helped me a lot, and I learned a lot through that process. How to work with, I guess you could say, professional directors. I always directed with friends and all that, so it was really nice to actually direct someone who had very, very who was very versatile in acting. So that was Dead by Midnight, the first one, Creepy Dolls, and they U42, the production company, they decided to give us money for a second one, so we were able to make Dead by Midnight Part 2. We called it White to Kill, and I was responsible for another episode. Well, I wasn't responsible. I was allowed to. But I took on the responsibility. Racist, right? But I debated about what I wanted to do originally. And then I decided, you know what? I'm just going to go all out. If I'm going to make something that was more, let's say, video game based, you should just go out with it, all out. So I came up with this concept called Heroes of Time, who are a party group. So I play MMOs, Final Fantasy 14. Everyone knows this. Well, I hope. And there's a lot of stuff that happens in MMOs. But MMOs in general have been getting a huge amount of popularity in the last couple of years, especially with Final Fantasy 14. Doing this last expansion, and even the expansion before that, Shadowbringers, it got incredibly well received. And I know right before the last one, Endwalker came out, Asmongold, a very, very big streamer who does WoW content, converted over to Final Fantasy 14, and that brought a whole pack of people. And it's been a really good time with MMOs. But I actually made this before all that happened. I mean, I was probably more inspired by Shadowbringers or Stormblood. And of course, there's a couple of animes out there that have this concept, but basically where a group of individuals are playing a video game, a virtual video game, and they get trapped in it. They get trapped in the game. I haven't seen any live really do this. I mean, you could argue there's a couple. You could even go back to Tron. Tron, technically this happens. But where individuals trapped in the game, and if you get killed in the game, well, you die in real life. You know, Dot Hack kind of hit a little bit onto this. Sword Art obviously did, stuff like this. There's a couple of other animes you could argue, like Overlord, that were similar to this concept. Overlord obviously has a completely different take on it, but it has that general concept. So it was important to me to, when I made Heroes of Time, to make it as true to MMOs as possible. You go through a rotation when you fight. There's health bars on everyone. There's guilds on everyone's overhead HUD. Basically over their head they'll have like their name, their guild. Some people could initial it, some people could turn it off. But the point is, that's where like your HP is and all that. When you damage a monster, you should know where the health is and how much magic they may have. I don't know. There's a lot of like technical things. And also when you play, usually people who play an MMO are just there just to have fun. They're escaping reality. Like when I play the game, I just I jump onto Final Fantasy 14. Usually I check to see who's online. Because usually you have a group of friends within a guild. Final Fantasy calls it FC, free company. I think WoW was guild. I actually haven't played WoW, but I at least did a little bit of research on that. The WoW part. But overall, it was important to get some of these technical things down. I know a big worry about about when I was like trying to tell the story, or I decided to write the story, was how will basically graphics hold up. I mean, you have monsters. This is an independent film. We didn't get that much money when it comes right down to it. So I would be limited to what I could do, on the special effects side, or technically not special, visual effects. Practical effects is usually special effects. But I just dived into it, and then we filmed it, and of course there was technical issues that I had with it, like that I had going into it, but I had to heavily rely on the visual effects, and they pull this off with that budget. And very thankfully, U42, had a group of people that were just incredible. Like they had to put in stuff like effort that they didn't need to. I honestly don't know how they did it. Like, I'm not saying this is like some high budget film, but what they did with the budget was ridiculous. Like, it was incredible, and I was very, very, very privileged to see that basically come to fruition. But basically, you have the premises is you have a group of party members. Usually in a game, it's between 4 and 5. Final Fantasy, it's 4. You have your tank. You have your healer. Tank is supposed to be the main person who pulls, and when they attack a horde, their job is to make sure that the enemies attack them and not anybody else. They have enough defense. They're made to have a lot of defense so they can withstand a lot of damage. Then you have your healer, and the healer's job is to heal the party, mainly the tank. If they don't heal the tank dies. If the tank dies, everyone usually dies because everyone else doesn't have the stats to withstand a lot of damage. Then you have your DPS, damage per second. Wait. DPS. Yeah, damage per second. Okay. Their job is to kill. They try to kill things as fast as possible. They have enough damage to do that, usually. And there's different types of DPS, and it's not like there's 2 or something. Like Final Fantasy has like, I don't know, 12 or something, 13. There's a lot. There's less tanks, less healers, more DPS. DPS could be something as simple as a lancer, someone who holds a lance. Red mage, which has magic, but they use a scimitar. Did I say that right? Scimitar. short sword. Pretty much. You have summoners who summon monsters, and they're they're magic users when it comes right down to it. You could have a monk who uses their fist. Now, these are damage dealers, DPSs. While you have tanks or like warriors or paladins, like people who just have a lot of they wear full plate armor when it comes right down to it, if you think about it. Pillars are little weaklings, but they're usually spellcasters of some sort. But anyways, so my goal, was to make sure that I had the appropriate combat. What are these mechanics? What do you do when you go into this world and you go into a dungeon, to fight off monsters? And I decided to go with 4 members. I have my healer, I have my tank, and I have 2 DPS. And they go into this world. And they're playing like a normal video game. This is a normal Final Fantasy 14 or WoW, or I guess you could say Destiny. Destiny's first person technically. But they go into a dungeon, and if they die in the game. If they succeed, which is a fairly easy dungeon normally, they succeed and they get the rewards like a treasure chest or experience or whatever they're going in for. The weekly grind. There's usually weekly or daily grinds in MMOs, or some hard to find item, which in this case they're trying to go find a harder item for one of the characters. They do not expect that if you actually get killed in the game that you die, because that's just not in their comprehension. It's just a game. Something does happen where they realize that something feels a little off, but it doesn't detract them from having fun in the game nonetheless until someone dies. So that's a pretty important concept, for me, is to tell that story, of party members going into a dungeon, reacting to what could potentially be a threat. It becomes a threat. What do they do? And the game, is based 8 years from now, I guess. It's based in 2030, when virtual reality becomes a little bit more prominent in the industry. Because virtual reality really isn't. It's getting there, but it's not there yet. On certain games, it's not most games are just third person, first person. I mean, you don't use a virtual headset. That could be expensive in the first place. Not everyone's going to be able to have access to it. But maybe in 8 years, yeah, they would. And when I obviously made it, it was like 9 or 10 years in the future from the point where I made the script. So it seemed more feasible. I know like a couple of like issues I had with it. Where we were on set, I had this idea that they were supposed to go into a house. Like they go into a dungeon, the dungeon turns into a castle. The castle, they just go through the different areas of the castle. What I didn't realize was the location we're trying to film at, didn't really have a good inside. It doesn't look very castle-like or dungeon-like. So that was a lot trickier, and we had to scrap that eventually and go with they're in the woods. It was something that my assistant director, Tori Haas, realized that it needed to be done. It's best for our day. It's best for the film. And I am so glad he made that decision because we were running behind. So one thing, when you're filming, you can get behind. You have a schedule, like a set thing, from let's say 12 to 12:15 p.m. Like this is noon time. Let's just assume you have this scene that you need to do, this shot. So usually you're doing like a whole scene, within a day or two. It takes a long time to film. I mean, anybody who's been on film sets know this. But for 15 minutes, we need to do the close-up shot and we need to do the mid shot. I'm just throwing that out as an example. And then 15 minutes from that, we're going to do the wide shot. And then 15 minutes from that, we're going to do another person's close-up shot and wide shot, and it goes on and on and on. Well, if something technical happens, like the camera isn't, or, it runs out of batteries, let's say, or we are setting it for location, because you have to set up for sometimes locations. It's pretty important. And sometimes we leave a little bit more time to set up, but the setup could take a lot longer. Which then time goes, you start getting behind when it comes right down to it. And we were getting behind on that day. I want to say we're like 2 hours behind or something like that. It was pretty bad. And me running across this issue where I had to go into a house, or we had to film in a house, and the house wasn't prepped right and all that. Was just going to take too long. Filming outside. So when you're indoors, you have to worry about lighting, like a lot more. You have to worry about lighting. But when you're outdoors, you could use a lot of the natural lighting, the sun, when it comes down to it. If it's cloudy, it's actually better for the DP, director of photography. And well, going from indoors to outdoors just made a lot of setup that much more faster. So we did that, and like I said, that was one of the scenes that was massively changed from the script to the movie. When you see it, you'll see this forest scene, and you'll know then what I'm talking about. But like some of the things that, like, I guess you could say shocked me was, well, one, the performances were outstanding. Like, we have an incredible. Well, I got really lucky, like, for what our cast is just incredible, and our crewman also, like, we have a really good group of individuals, like the people who run the camera and the people who do the audio, and control the lightings. We just have a affordance. Oh, and of course there's makeup, but I was very, very happy with that. Like, I couldn't have asked for anything less. They gave like 120% or 200%. Like, they just, you could tell this was all about passion versus just doing a job. And actors would put in their inside, like, like I would give them the scenario, and give them the backstory, and pretty much how the character thinks in the situation, and they just go in. They would ask like so many different types of questions, which helped even more for me, because it makes me have to think about how exactly I'm going to describe a scene. Having great actors is so helpful. But yeah, it was just amazing, like, doing this thing. And then like, one side is the production side, but then there's post, there's editing, there's music making, there's fixing the sound, there's the visual effects, and like I said, I didn't have a clue what to expect from the visual effects when I did it. I met Tori, he deals with stuff like this, but so that was another thing I had to learn, was how am I going to do all these effects? Like, how do I prep for this? Like, if someone dies, maybe some of that will be an effect, but more so, there's the HUD. Like, how the heck am I going to get ready for that HUD? There's a scene where someone opens up their menu. How am I going to do that? Like, a lot of this was like trust. Like, I had to trust that the visual effects group would know what I'm talking about, and execute it. But since Tori had done it, it made it so much easier. He would like at least tell me how to, because they could know how to do it, but like I could set it up very terribly for them, so they get into the editing process and start messing with these visual effects, and they're like, I can't do it. Like, it's physically impossible because of how you set up the scene. The prep work basically for visual effects. So I got to learn a lot about that, which was awesome. And most of it, not all of it, but most of it came out very, very well. Like, I at least prepped, or Tori prepped me right. So like, it came out very clean and all that. There was one scene. It was the entrance to the dungeon. We used the house, like a house interior, exterior technically, and then the visual effects team had to go and rework it basically to make it look like a castle. And I didn't put any green screen on it. By the way, I highly recommend do green screen. It's like the one lesson I learned, or at least do like a blank slate so they can just put it there or something, hey, random game bowl 11. I see. You shouldn't. How are you doing, random? All right. But yeah, I highly recommend always do green screen. If you don't do green screen, you are in a world of problems. And that was probably the biggest. It was my fault, I feel like, as a director versus the visual effects crew. Honestly, they did a fantastic job with what I gave them. I don't know how they got around that. But that was like probably the biggest issue. Nice. I'm Flint. This is my sister Akadi, and we're just talking about an indie film that's coming out on April 26th. I did one of the segments. This is an anthology, a horror anthology. And I'm just talking about like some of my experiences in there of what I directed. Oh no. Yeah. In general, just to let you know, we are, me and my sister are twins from a country named Reynard. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but we kind of got had to be sent away to a place called Tarogaville, which I don't know if you've ever heard that either. Oh, Akadi. Random Game says, hey. She says hey back. Oh yeah, she doesn't talk. Not exactly. She is pretty much a mute, unfortunately. And she doesn't like it, but that's just reality. But do you have any experience, random game boy, sorry, with like making anything film wise? Or what's like your favorite movie? Stop crying, Akadi. I'm sorry. I see. I've made a couple of films. I was talking about. This is a sequel to a film that we made. I don't know, 5-6 years ago, called Dead by Midnight. Well, this Dead by Midnight 2. Why to Kill. But yeah, I was going to show a trailer and a quick little segment of. Oh, thank you, Random Game Boy. You are awesome. But yeah, I'm going to show a segment of Heroes of Time, the segment I did. But before that, I'm going to show the trailer of Dead by Midnight. Why to Kill. Just give me one moment and I'm gonna get that set up. Won't take that long, but where are you? All right. So it should be set up. All right. So this is the trailer for Dead by Midnight. Why to Kill.
This program is just the beginning. I want to be in every home across the world.
It is an anthology, so
No one will be
not
safe.
exactly. Well, mine maybe, but
Darkness will reign. The world will
so
suffer.
this is 5 shorts.
What's the
Obviously.
emergency? What's going on? What?
And he's probably gonna kill you and then me too if we don't take him out first.
You can pause, but you can't hide.
How can I help?
Get me out of here, get me out of here, get me out of here. We're gonna die. Enough!
Hi, I'm Kane Hodder. Murderall has given me a new chance at happiness. Okay.
My kingdom come, my will be done.
I'll be right here, waiting for you.
Oops. No. So let me close that for a second. Oop. So there's 5 segments. One of them's like kind of like Roger Rabbit, just a cartoon character that goes around killing. Like I said, my segment is you're stuck in an MMO, and if you die in that game, you die in real life. Pretty much the premises. And we have like a wrestling one, like one inspired by wrestling. One's a little bit more religious, I guess. About a preacher. It's a religious type. But yeah, it was a lot of fun just making this. A lot of them I only had to work on mine, so a lot of my time was spent on Heroes of Time. But I'm going to show you a clip of Heroes of Time. I'm dead for a second. Oh, that's fine. That's fine. Random. See what we did there. I'm dead. That's sad. We're random. All right, so this is a clip of Heroes of Time.
Whoa! Watch out, Master Zeke!
What am I supposed to do? My spells are not working!
Come on, Zeke. You're all about dynamic storylines, but you ruin every genuine moment.
That's just who I am. A moment ruiner.
All right. So that's just a little clip of Heroes of Time. Like I said, special effects was a massive part of that, or visual effects. And I didn't know what to expect from it. But the team, U42, their crew, I think for an independent film, did an incredible job. I wasn't expecting a monster like that. The HUDs above their head were they're exactly what I wanted. The magic was a lot of fun, or their abilities in the game were a lot of fun. But yeah, that's all I mainly wanted to introduce exactly what the interviews are. There's going to be 3 interviews, just to let you know, random. This is the first one. It's pretty much me. Tomorrow, I'm going to be getting with 2 cast members, Emma Green and DeJour Ashwood, at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. They'll be in the chat, and we're just going to talk about their experience. And then at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, I'm going to get with all the directors. Well, not all of them, but a good bit of them. And we're going to discuss the process of our experience in Dead by Midnight, Why Do Kill. So I hope everyone enjoyed this. Thank you, Random, for coming, and thank you for the sub. Or the follow. And oh, thank you. I actually did that. I was responsible for directing, writing, editing. So thank you. But yeah, we'll be talking more about this tomorrow. I'm going to be editing it now. Again, thank you, Random, for coming. And anybody else out there. And I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.